against the backdrop of the chairman Wontumi ne Abronye kan say o mo be manipulate election results na album no na wa be yom be you afiri no ye de nkranhye na ye de ma party for no say ken nyemresa me pese me de betutu obi aho ba ken nyemresa na bright champo kra won ti ase enti ono mo eda o mo nya dey o mo da the assurance is there ye de nhye atum ya
party for so abeka say enye no kre
but no kra na ke de omo distance omo ho
yeah
na ke you say common
condemn can say enye no kre
omo condemn so you can distance yourself without necessarily disagreeing with it.
Okay.
What does it? Next, come condemn say I did see and you come so. And that's why we made that call.
So almost sanction.
Could you ask a petition, bra? One day party penny, ye the book council waka hebede. But the point is say, you didn't say out to a quema. Dr. Baumia, when you 20 votes, a becan at the day, aman. They can't be a becan a day, aman. The bribe be a becan. At the end of the day, no party for no one more and no more pay.
Why can?
Minya, we say myself why can one I've given you, I'm going to address it from two instances. The first instance in the current state of the party, and the second instance is the current state of the country. You see, to be fair, Mahama has attempted to restore a certain hope. I mean, to be fair to him. Even though largely he's just playing the optics and playing what Ghanaians want to see. And na Ghana for person we the ehu. Recently, Matter say so I restore Indium the bank you know. I don't know how true it is, but this
I think I hear there's something like that in the pipeline.
Granted without admitting that these are what Ghanaians were like. Not on the basis say be a Indium no any regulatory issues be out. And the beer you yes and Kofosika on most importantly you nyuma ebede Kofo who send the nyuma na eba. So to the ordinary Ghanaian or mind the basic decent life how be a timi living in his own country no or mind so we school krom how wow my muha you cannot live such a basic life me meeting here me no UDS yeah we school me train for 3 years me nya adwuma after 3 years no nya adwuma on one my move. The basic things I said you will be juma at all amount Satmako no wow my Wontumi. How then do you think about buying a car? How then do you think about building a house? Or be my engineer so enquetu Nanka engineer sunina de engineer enim. Dino some mina winning queen. Oh, you use a secret. Oh, so and I'm not the bag. What I say? The basic necessities of life, you can't say live a luxurious life, but you are just living a decent life in your own country. Wontumi live our own country. Do you hear the boys na? Sanema ame asase no aton. No they apply school. No akọ Canada. Enye school no person okọ. Obwa. Or no any country ma. The Ghanaian dream no onye bi nye dey in live. Ghanaian dream na ne say, on setimi ko wa no. So person worry otimi worry. So person ha da otimi ye dey ha da. Within a reasonable period that what you want adwuma ko pension no. So person dey be uti tu baabi o dey uti aye dey atu baabi. Yen ka say kotwi Range Rover. But say bi o say Corolla, say a vet na person otokra otimi tro dey ebobra. Or my sasma making would fa Ghana for enipa 100 emu 80% to 90% don't have this basic decent life. And it becomes even sad. It's also a school and can near school now. But this time around, no, school you cry there.
As a why as what school.
As what I upon the class of the school. Nothing I could say. Nina could see a juma and once a my head.
I was so broth was look at
almost a broth for Mate. That's why Mate. Nina a juma once a my head. Yeah, came. Or my old share World Banker. One must say in fake a crabia a day anymore. And so I make a better 2030 as a move. Nipe better juma ewo developing economies. If we can developing economies, I make a big bremu ha Ghana ede. One say about 1.2 billion.
QuickBooks gives me the superpower to automate my invoices, track expenses.
No, because our job market anyhow. Almost say about just 420 million penny bede. Ibenya say nyuma no. Tibuza won say one aka be almost $1 billion. Almost cover say nyuma na de ewo hin. Ti nyuma sem ho asem ka ye de eden. Oba Ghana ha ye tro we statistics mu say oh your unemployment rate 14%. 14% you be able that say be ye de eye. Uma de kuntia because wo hwe on mo munya adwuma na ewo ho in statistics 14%. But we now into the informal sector. In the informal sector, no, as or koba and calculating the overcatch also a juma. But we say juma the tweet and the light bill, a tweet and the water bill. Send a year in your bit media ko yin or confa so in a busy problem to say be a surgery and no emergency, or which me high in your huska. I saw conference any. One more moya jumano, Tiasemi you, one more moya a juma Ghana hano. When them in America, Ghana Statistical Services say 80% underpaid. You will get more less than 3,000 cedis. Yeah, think I know. You're high single room 2,000 Ghana cedis. Kumasi has so per decent life or behind single room 1,500. Now high single room 1,500 cedis. Maybe about top petrol go cap. O my and subject your school fees. I'm a sound crammy and son. Ubit your tight so you'll be a wheel GD or Quassoria. Say over you, won't be to singlet, over to blaze.
So we are magicians.
We are magicians. I know that the chrono no yade eban. So chrono ne corruption ne ade ho asema ye ka no. Sometimes nkofo we are see area, but one we are for survivor. So, into 80% no a one mo ye adwuma no are underpaid. And the same Ghana Statistical Service no say 20% kwa de one mo live in abject poverty. Now 80% impo so mo ye adwuma no less than 3,000 cedis. What you say? Now 20% so kwa de so mo ye extremely poor. And to share the country now, then you look at the country, the whole 100% of data no, and within the poverty bracket.
What can she say?
May Cassie say, maybe a year drew no, in here will be or the new about mine. Yes.
And you think Ken is the person?
So, track record, no. Track record near day will be the biggest African, biggest coal store in Africa. Or say, the biggest coal store in West Africa. Will be the biggest steel plant. I am Chakra in about 6 months. A grateful for na a delay. Can you commission in the or food factory or I think
there's also a starch factory.
Starch factory. The money are there. Normal. I mean, the media so media groups. Yes, it. And it's one person at his private capacity. It me yes here. Na say ni pa kono ka chose or my or baby be nyuma memu ani biaye with the state authority or minor ho odin or mine to me, or minor esika, or minor resources, or castle. One day, I be wouldn't seem answer will be a Maya. I didn't tell me one, any class of Mojini too. The Honna can never saw a day. Oba, can who is when you this was 65 years. Maybe a Druno, Sebio, a dear Naje. The Akena is so a dimpa. Now, Yankopon, blind, Yankobo flower from the Monse, also a crowd or by a wet my day. Abua. Sicano will never. A man 22, so and that was also 23 officially, unofficially 22. What I say, Abusians why they were heavy. The only say Nipa you we are CBA why they were heavy. No more or Buania
to hear my
behavior. But be a drone, yes, say, one was be a drone, one was be jettimpa. Near Castle will be by near Ferry Kennedy, and go forcing a near thing, go force or cannot drink. Nko force the engine obede obeka nko force can the one tiase nko force can the emanensi ma emanensi so but beyond that no obi bie nyuma ma nkofo a no mo susu se untimi emobra Ghana ha untimi nyahwe wo Ghana ha unya ebi ye de e wo Ghana so that's why Ken is coming obi bie nyuma no ama hotai de aba now nim me mu ani nya dwuma ye no wotwa taxes wotwa taxes no and no minus susu etimenya bi de de aye akwan esi hospitals any ade so that's all the vision of Ken is coming to do.
Give them jobs.
Yeah, give them jobs.
Let them pay taxes.
Yeah, let them pay taxes.
Let's use it to develop the nation.
Assembly nyina nti Ken nyina no ano no
now yeah, bro for sem
David say na no me say papa ba ko de me mudi eso say Ken e ba kra o kwa me for ntimi negotiations but even that mentality no e wrong even in the first place.
Wontumi nya negotiations
was a Ken near presidential material and I don't know why IMF for wontumi ne abrofo no nkasa
ale
but in the first place so compare the IMF so what say wo man ye etutu no man ya wo compare there ho Russian president so on abrofo and the ono ntimi money man Gaddafi ti hey Russian president what you so onka z China ni what you no onka and the omunya mo man ye. What has English got to do? Na nipo what the parliament say you tree waka. Na sebio ye tree yimpo no se no na e be kampa na wonsaba ko ana na ye de. Ghanaians are more interested in say nipo betima mo adwuma. Obehye oman no what the discipline be oman. Here be a party. Look at the background I've given to you. Let's hear koye. Look at the background. you presented northern candidates. Yes, so the worst performance in the north and the nine. Zongo communities. Now Dr. Bawumia responded. Then he confused Zongo communities with Zongo police stations. We were saying, say, Zongo communities, Olusu all Zongo communities. Then quickly he then came to Spain. Or said there be Zongo police station, we need. We are not talking about police. We are talking about communities. You know there's communities. What I say? Even despite the fact that Kawoye Cremonino, you are predominantly associated with the Islam community in the Zongo community. Yes, we lost there. And to be a part in the general. Now no kwe ablekuma yekoye hwehwe omohwe ye okay now no hwe eyidi ekwe komedi ekoye ekoto seat ne twene and the akwatia and the worst decision ever we made is Tamale Central yenko and this ifo hu no mso muka ase ase de ebeko Tamale Central oman wo de wa adwuma ya che yekoye misi yenwini but now your opportunity to present a candidate
and make an impact for 2028
for 2028 the market because you really see a seat in it but yes still the decision of the party is adiemko. It may be a party in the now no sort of comments at Wontumi Abronye.
I've seen your letter. Machokata said they should be sanctioned any day.
Yeah.
There are people who also have a view, say Kennedy's vituperation is there a certain anger, the temperament and yet for leadership. How do you resolve that?
Oh my
Nibufua some of Becky Kanin, some be a Kikania.
Now, okay, almost move back to America now. You will be sending says Kennedy wants to sign. But my main chair, dear. Oh, my Kennedy on your saint. But Tanaka chose a Kennedy, or strabo for a concra. Na me a trophy. Nipebia wo adia a strength. Na ho de ejina. And will be Bishop Rebecca said the shortcomings.
The sweet weakness.
The weakness so yede or my what you will be. Because you got to me a will be. Minimum candidates or more presidential primaries here. A bisu as me see they are very humble. Obisu say no, sign the no, obi atimi e dey control no you weak. Ntesa yentibi de bia. Nti it all depends on how see the whether say obi hu nsuo see dey go kruam. So obi hu say a half full than I say half full. It all depends on how you see it. And no matter Kennedy aya, me sure say we nipa. And they ono akwa to ono ma na kwanya onye dey.
Okay.
No many people ha nyina besre na ye de dwato aye de aka hom. But a no man offer 100% or how more pay
about
99% of crowd for some Kennedy, Casabasa, Kennedy, Kennedy, Papa Nina were in defense of the party. I remember one example. So Kaim Ribia open a friend of Safomafu, penny a friend of Kufado, Gabi or Sarah Chedako, Bedia Tuno, one could see a party for you Gabi fee or Eastern region. No more cast a hena and come on with the party in common in her bed, ebidi. No one would dim commoding. Obeje de say will be far from a record of your Safomafu here. We will have NPP station, no the Coma Cry FM and NDC station. So
no boy
and Kade and Tokakesia ever told a chimney as so one now we will be able to see a sponsor party now 50 time a tape. I don't
know before Jimmy.
Yes, because to him no one any again over.
There's a sad and a man cast a party for Jimmy. It's a better now walk or record you. Yes. Now they have a 12 on train. Who we are?
Yes.
What's our casa outdoor party? What? Before?
Yes.
Party for Jimmy. That was the reason why
contest. That was the contest. As we need page now, so
there was a party. Jimmy.
When we just comment in the ground, or kind of 2015. Yes, to Akufo-Addo won in 2016. As when after 2024, most of our comment, and you lose election. You see the logic.
Okay,
you see the logic.
Now you said the yeah, or you want to say party Babetima recorded pennies abe create problem.
Yes, especially what do see cash party, mudo party na we party near we bush phone in party for. Or you don't know money in party for, papa no mammy in party for. Umuja yitwa party na the ebano. Assembles are the better. When you complain on that angle, yeah, also a addiction and wedding.
That's right.
Maybe a PR person. Maybe Jimmy no make us so small ye dear. Sebio ka ye no fra and I say or one form. What I say, Obi Bekano in a different way. But you see, on my it's also about time on ma you weaken the leaders that you want to bring.
Okay.
He name himself on my sword. Okay. Road safety regulations has basic attitude in me air enforcer. Utu kwan we a regular traveler or chances of survival about 40%. Not because of the nature of the roads per se, but because of your suba and the other and I'm quite also.
Do you seek and say obey me the discipline about me?
I want to make a bay. Sanitation. Oh my minimum so do you na kwena utu kwan bibia. Adia ukache bonu on tia say black man on where did you ya emu akontimi nyade e manage woni krum. Adia flat afibia nye perenia and kan yete de bia afibia nkan ho asem. Most of them your attitude na. And then kura dia ya baba kumase. Hwe galamse ya ka ho asem and ne NDC ya won muntimi so ho galamse abaye biggest minister. Yeso ya yeso ahoden ehwan ya and asel kwa na ekosi. Unu mi hia galamse nyina. It requires one thing, political will. So we nearly the you catch us say enough is enough. Me instead of galamse, maybe gold and maybe to a tourism. Because after all, what is it? Gold Nehemiah say compare ethanol. Alcohol Kasapreku alone, one person import $2 billion of alcohol about my muhankwa the Ghanaian market alone. Not even talk about the other West African communities. And they say identify Kasapreku Makumako 20. Oh Africa hankwa. Near Kasi Yabanch and Kwan convert into ethanol 2 times 20 will give us $40 billion. Nowhere what gold gives us. No man yes and I day. No man yes and I day. And you need that visionary leader. Singapore, there no more. Singapore population there no. Singapore is around 9 to 11 million. But there no more. On the basis of pure tourism, young go to a tourism young. Oh, and there is a link our real sonko at the agriculture and socio-economic transformation. So might be a be developed. Our real sonko at the tourism and socio-economic transformation. Kennedy say, Adia Bakwa was a year done a come so you say, all the other regions are kana. It's almost a ghost town. It's almost a ghost city. Mama Kumasi. Unu tama Kumasi eba Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It do Monday pet Sunday you will be a janeko, will be a concrete. Kumasi is almost a dead city. And I say this without any disrespect. How do you make sure say Kumasi no affair koso and numa koso a dready koso? Unu the one thing I was saying, and more be a movement crab you. Who ministries? I one crown more a yejuma. Ministries on teaching. For Fabra Santa region. Meboa. Ebia, fancy be a ministry to be education. Unse central dompong monsieur pa e fanko ho. Who will be a Greek, Fako North. Who will be energy, Fako Western. Ebia wo me se bi wo ha Fabra Santa. Bakua. And this said the whole country will be a move up a crown. This time around, maybe a Ministry of Education. There were 29 agencies in Kwane. 29 agencies in the our foreign partners and institutions or no more yet. Even if Kumasi has just 2 ministries in power, Nipa even now have to transact with Kumasi. Or my Obana, there's our high hotel. On Tobiane. What I say? Oh no, Munina Baby 2 agencies, no Babaji offices. Oh, Babaji office, no better Juma. And instead of seeing transacting with Accra, this time around, pay. A be education about central, Opa Greek, a be able Kumasi, Upu, and on the Mao Mino, a pija, the regions becomes active. Yes, that is the true definition of decentralization. Be active. I feel no, Sayakono, then you realize there are problems. Problem is, you be a Tukayu, Yen, Intercozo, your rules, MIA, your train system, MIA. Nothing won't say, or mine, a developer. These are we a fellow common sense approach to solving problems. And we will hear particular mind. Who will be our be pay. You can't rich ideas ideas of track record. And your ideas I said you have can free book mana charge GPT assembly an idea of records why you be pay. And that's what Kennedy is coming to do.
Abono kron apa me to do sia many agosi kwatin or Kennedy ashare or church Kennedy semu. Ade ba ko ni mo party no grassroots. There are a whole lot of agitations. Bibi Efre and Kabum. How do you see Kennedy bringing everybody on board? Because Cecilia Moko election, executives Bibri Eddie Kennedy former ministers, former appointees, Ebi O Kennedy ho, Ebi O Baumia ho, Brian Champon, one day. Do you see a unifier in Kennedy? Say obetimi akaoma boom because Samudi flag bearer now and Kabuma to me ama, you will lose the elections.
I remember 2 leaders and their trademark. Mm-hmm. 2 leaders and their trademark. Yesterday, thank you, Tono. Kennedy Kasa first. The first comment or cast says, I need a one can one muma. Niped never biano. Sebu, ye the Yesu grab by intervene day. That was his first comment. We nipa or Kasaya Dr. Bawia. Dr. Bawia's first comment or can ever hold, Menami Hobio, and I'm saying this as a statement of fact. On the first comment, they say, about 20 quatriano. And no more brain a course. Now, on no dear, a busy in the village in a mere day, you lose less by no because no be affected. You got to about a to petrol. Now, I said that to no, Nimsay said that to Muso, no persuade day. So you compare the mindset and the thinking of these 2 leaders. One, first of all, say, you hear Kabum. Party for the IC be a mon final day, NCA. The Achebia and Pediforce Achan, where the sun be born, a mon final day, NCA. And no money be high under 20 years. Then another leader comes in and attempt to shift blame and make it look like, say, on the boss and I know maybe a mayor, the agent say. And this is our 2 leaders say, O my Kadiode and Kabum Ebeba, and now the open cell a Ben Kabuma. Their track record and their public utterances has always been clear. One more example. So, she say, now the Alancham Watechi, Ediabo free party nima. Who free party nimu on the basis say, who GDB say, Baumia became a beneficiary of how Alan was mistreated. Between Baumia winning flag bearer and between Kennedy winning flag bearer, when our year Alan person our koya, Kawan mum na Baba Bedineti. Alan Okoye no said Okoye Nyashio. But ne corner Okoye gave a different picture about the party. I said, be a cast of politician to invade your suit table. So I'm going to invade your suit tables, but with my charge and a suit table. So you can determine the type of food on your table. So Alan may have not won by himself, but Kono Koy and a bit more affected your chances and the voter outcome. Because who say into 10 years, party for me be who say into 10 years. Your party for Makuma 2.1 million our man Kotwaba. And there's a 1.7 million votes difference as well. So and between these 2 candidates, Bako appears to be the establishment. Establishment 16 years in you. Party in 32 years. Make the 32 years and now we move 16 years. Waba own your party or enjoy. What that party na say quiet we free. Now one more who so or money trap party nefuno or no ya pamono and then go for akotante. Usani pakon between obia or no to susu say pamono and the Kena or no so yanko be among one obedinity. In the Ken his commitment for unity in the and match. No mind Henano call conference stadium ho. One more as executives ye promote tobacco. Ken at that time had paid $4 million. Yes, so yes, that could promote tobacco. The Ken in his usual element, no covered the Zemak Kabokoso. But on my no Ken say the old Ken fought for you and fought for the party people. The new Ken will not fight again, he will build. Did the new Ken in building, you build with everybody. They say we could how, say we could how, say we could how. That is the beauty of democracy. At the end of the day, Ken do be a Kayade, Abum, Nina, a team move forward for the 2028. No? So near can you carry a form of worker. So a delegate now got to a bar. And take was parting. What not trauma? I did not trot for the Eka. Ula sorry them, I did not sorry them for the Eka. Oko Moxa, a dear nan cremo for the Eka. Almost the same. Almost same when they can buy a bed. Yabato. I do know it has also more to do with the trust and credibility one who place you on candidate or contest you. And now about say the candidate we kokeke. One mu jiwudi. One say more in the past a bit ma jiwudi. Assembly year count 2020 that's all it's about. Ye jiwudi.
Abronye so for now mo ye a dom na mo to aba no. About 6 million na mo ba to na be 7 million. Almost say delegates no you can the Agyapong and the bar. To aba.
So mu jindi. So much in it. So we meet way. Say Kumasi a year survey. Second Agyapong can say, oh, operation basic confirm not teaching hospital or for investors beyond your mobile. Now other politicians so can random politicians almost on the same level. Say a cast will be uncle take your genius over to Maya. Chances say a move at your watching because a Kennedy or can or yede or yo. Or builders our reputation I day. Amano.
Okay.
Oh, Anna, Sadia no, Wontumi challenging the party for Musu Kendi or Kasa Basabasa Micheche or Muniadano. That's why I said, don't let us also create weak leaders. Now, no matter if you back, so I promise, let Ken be Ken. Let Ken be Ken. I say, you or be na me and yade, me and can. O nipa and Fonsoy day, I want to. But Ken acquires a boxer. Boxer be a actual ring ma or perform the rule, and your bubble ball off of. But what who say, Papa, a friend, as man else, will pee outside the range at 2 blows to that. There obviously, Ken did a soft water. Now, I'm saying, so did you soft water? Was it there? No, I'm saying, me co praise, but we need the praise so for be a atom. In the other, now, I was a Ken did a soft water. A soft for burn or did you matter? My more yaw come master me, or binim ne, Niger gaze him, never do could no. All of them are on record, somebody fear panato. Because some of you two must have your way any day. And ye junk of forecast, ye bonk of four now no be frame so catch a canna or make a public statement map of as of for night. And I'm saying, no, we will not weaken him. Let him be who he is. You weaken him because we want position. That is the papa the image no. Adia moye and then there is no way self so coin or copper watcho. And that is scan for you. Young copper watcho. The year so no, you copper watcho. Because then oh you no money bo ha. I saw the first Schwarzenegger day. The first Schwarzenegger tra despite media, it did not attempt continuous for about 3 months. The chief did approve for attempt. And then Ken responded to her. But the description say be me kwesi kwatia, e be coming cancer. I'm sure say Ken no man another opportunity on the cancer. Because ni pa de enyini, ni pesua de, ni pe hu ade. But you cannot say Ken etan asofo. Obi ono de the radio station for the past 19 years. Ama SDF for your program or on your motekuda. Obi for the past almost 20-25 years. Afibi oyen kremo father. How do they say so time kremo for? Yes, what did you fear so get him or time on what basis? Say nipa from a very humble beginning. Afibia on eye kunafo adoye, on eye nyanka doye, ye tontoma, ye hemkwala, ye twenkwala school fees, ye see hospitals. Ukon the course so esi won kwa 3 to 6 units classroom block on kwa we see over 77 of them. How then do you say say nipa ko we mpe e mo bro wa ye asem. It depends on the nipa person mo hwe. Obu ha yes so the akanfo obi bi say the ota on poasa no also power me say baby sa hoza
o say na also sa kan ni akwasi kwate
na de bibia na obu bibia na wonim ba me ni ma wonim
ababia ni wa wonim ma
de bu de buwe ne nko
yes say the ota no o sa wasa o chia ne pa we Wontumi ka
oh there be say waka me say me
enka didi wutire
enka didi wutire me to me enka ni oh kwasi kwate enka ni me say o ba kene wa ho ya kwa me ya kwa
ba o yo ba I was here to
ya kwa ba me yo ba ke so enti obi tawa osua wasa no ye de obu nipa so enti sa na akoye with Ken no akoye say people want to measure on the minus but
instead of looking at the pluses no nema obetima no
o mahini so obi kasa ana say yese ne kokko ha no obetima create nyuma ma ofa ho be compared to obi a yese ne kokko ha no no master the art of humility
enzo so Wontumi ma hwe mama watan him
the buba was your ideas oba no akoma letter yes your ideas yes your presidential yes your ideas yes rich ideas na Abronye can say rich ideas go to obi akrum ne ko rich ideas Bagredam esase spele ye de ye ba any 8 years ni Bagredam no nka ye ka one village one down just build.
Finally, my champ is going back to school. This is when they need nourishment and energy the
I don't know rich ideas. Me ba ya ye ni hu nkomo bi Jom Krofo marketing. Kumasi ne dwan yedi. Meboa, ne dwan yedi. Edwa yedi the biggest dwan mo see. Na this na be see.
NDC.
Krofo there's no mo na sadom mo sabeka. How then do you say oh rich ideas? Your problems as a country no. Enya dey bro so. E systemic e dey ehu e be see ne. Ade dey two le ma aban no dey two a champa aban. Ade dey two a champa aban no. The same reason they do two nkroma dey aban. Eno dey do two okofo. Eno dey do two akufado. And eno anso dey do two Mahama. Eno anso dey sad Mahama say dey aba. So the problems has been systemic. The problems are the same. Yenye nyuma nya dey enye. Ya kwan nya dey enye. Ye ko hospital any good facilities. Ye businessmen for here dey ho kire mo. Me mu anem maba ho na onya dwuma nya. Wo mu wie school mo life sa na say. Maka researchers. Ba ko ye say nkwala ewie school bia national service no it take minimum of 10 years for half of that part to get permanent employment. Even after 10 years, the other half will still be searching. Maka ebisu say or man in terms of employment and especially graduate employment, who will cobo home pim we invest here. Or mine is nipa 12 be a we square. A mutu pen or mine bit my day, a recruit. And you need to be a or mine or bar or be building the private people. Private people no much my day, a be human. All over the world. Now no ababe we could go now Canada. Menya kwenya so tutu kwa kakra all over the world. Aben bia ni ho na be human man for. But you create
the enabling
environment. Say for instance, say Zoom Lion, say the work is 10,000. Oba yeah, property owning democracy, the true NPP no. Any social party said the yeah social it's good anyway. By NPP need the NSA oba. Zoom Lion for say despite man work is here mako 100 and I say Zoom Lion make question mako 10,000. Hit Zoom Lion kwa mako 50. 10,000 times 50 be 500,000 jobs. Where we and the akotoye dey eba. All over the world, there's a private sector and one more day, a baby, you might be a baby. So that is what Ken is coming to do. And no cash over you Asian model. Asian model, the way some identify business community. No, one more you more meet marketing, you man, no more boy, no making sure so or mudio many a day, a DHR. The Kenipa or penny or creative what you may. So far, or the new money in our 100. This time around, I buy in a bar, called 1 team creating nipa, a bit more for nipa 1,000. They say, oh, nipa, 100, and come for nipa 1,000. Now, was I'm 1,000, I'll create 1 million jobs. That is Ken's model. Because I buy no only capacity, but one crown one day, one won't create. And the candy, you must have neka.
I want to know Mokwa. The statement is more they can buy a better.
Sano Bieka. Jumfono. And I'm
more delegates, no, what you must say.
Delegates, not so the current set of your party, no. One more, Mefasa, Umunya, Quenya. Enya dodode any dibre kese wo party ni mo for the past 16 years or more around one more person who hold on to the control and the influence.
Okay.
Into which I
say 16 years now and another neighbor me buy no omo ye ministers me ye positions ya no as one person be lose society.
Emu ade uza ko fo ko de ode nkofo nyina akoy ya wie ye na ase ne nya de yanko kakra benya ye no se fu na apeso akoya fakoye. Se business afire dey fakobie se wo fa ase for na wo hwe omo yi a ene wo yare kwa mo so be dey e be hye nsu ama wano so no ode ne nkofo nyina afrim but akufo ade no koye no ba omo ya afrim ti saa ne nkofo mo ho no ya de nyina no so wo hwe the current structure na
just omo so person omo bedidi
they still want to no person bedidi they still want to one person omo to edidi ne dey eso so into wo hwe a one mo ye make us the bourgeoisie the elite one more penifone woman on penifone akodi baomia dey echi because almost we can dey Wontumi nya dey en control no can dey anti establishment oba yina da form and ohwa dodo na so the over 200,000 polling station for no mu say omo bae no said your school placement na no dey no oto open national service na no dey no oto ono police station executive no so per police no twetwa 20,000 ebi o ko twia me ensa bi a ya gine sika ye dey
yes anson fa
one mo so hu ne second asem kan e kan o asem ye dey emo ente the influential people versus the masses what I say where Ken stands with the masses and not about me and so one ma ebi a yes MP so could declare yes MP so could declare any ade san election na ye dey akoy but ye dey hu ne say so you influential so you when the vote is one obia will vote one pe we MP we when you vote you MP so you be brave but the point is that to me na self for na ye dey e your modern na nyina question and you see the book kan so nya for brase kan so e be se na bible so o he na kuma da nyankopon ye dey ensem o se akoye sensu ye dey e tin no ono asefo ye dey be open no dey dey efa tie dey wogidi se be.
Do you believe in the prophecies?
Yes,
some prophecies have come. You say Ken will be president. Ken will do.
Me believe in prophecies, but let me state my reservations, which may not be Ken's team reservations. I am also worried about the trend. Now the church is almost diverting into validating themselves through political prophecies. And very worrying to me. This is what will be political outcome to be seen. I cannot determine how Nyamede Asofo but you look at best practices.
I can say Wontumi share politics and come out.
I say who quad as and I have best practices. Say the Ghana and Nyame but I say you have best practices across the world. You can't say Nyamin Kasa. But how AC Bano I say it's almost becoming like a trend and we should be worried because the reason I'm saying we should be worried mimi ntiase o nyamesum wo de oyes of beni so the mandate of the gospel for salvation ultimately opinion tesa let us also not be so
skewed
and veer
on that
but also just me say a software should not take interest in political activities and political affairs but I have the air corner Kamia Koyese is no longer about having an interest in the political affairs, but it's now about who can prophesy, and it's almost becoming a competition.
Okay.
But beyond that, over the trend Nina, and now the Mekachi will be say, second winning pa, or you can make it so smart the Wagana. Because Obia, Usubempo, Bernard, why one anchor, Obia, say, Nakupo second or ever. And here they will GDA, but no credit say we are also not banging our hopes on prophecies. Juma. Prophecies has three main characteristics. It can fail, it can delay, and it can come to pass. We are hopeful that it can come to pass. But prophecies works, would they and what day and Asia.
All right. I was equating our training.